Children, have you had a good week? Yes? Who's broken up from school? Anybody yet? Yes, some of you have? Right. Well, I have a story for you this morning. And when it starts with Once Upon a Time, what do you know about it? It's a made-up story, but it does have some very good points in it, so you have to listen hard. So, once upon a time, on a big mountain, there were 3 young trees. And one starry night, when the stars came out, they dreamt about what they would like to be. And the first little tree said, I want to be a treasure chest covered in jewels and holding precious gems. And the second tree said, well, I want to be a big, strong ship that's going to sail along the ocean and carry powerful kings. And the third little tree said, I don't want to leave the mountain. I want to stay right here on the mountain and grow as tall as I can, as far as I can up to heaven maybe. And that's what his wish was. Well, time went by, the rains came, and the sun shone. And what happens when that happens to plants? What do? They start to grow. And these 3 small trees got bigger and bigger and bigger until one foggy day, through the fog, something terrible happened. 3 men came up the mountain with axes. And what do you think they were going to do? Yes! So the first little tree, now a big, strong tree, said, yes, pick me. And the man came over and chop, and that tree fell down, plonk, and it rolled down the hillside. And then the second little tree said, yes, pick me. And the second tree, and the second man went over, and he looked at it, and he chopped it down, and he said, yes, fine and strong. I know what I'm going to do with you. And the third big tree was going, no, don't choose me. And the third woodman said, I don't even care what the tree looks like that I'm going to chop down. I just need a tree. So he picked up his axe, and he chopped, and the tree went bonk, and it rolled down the hill. Oh dear. So the first woodman took the first big tree. Now, what did the first tree want to be? A treasure chest, that's right. So, into the wood shop. He's carving away with the wood, and he's making it into, oh yes, make me into a nice treasure chest. But he didn't. Do you know what he made him into? Made it into a feed box. What am I going to do? So, put the feed box to one side. Then the next man, he came into the shipyard, and he hauled that tree, and he took off all the branches, and he said, yes, this is going to be a good ship. But when he looked at the wood, it was only going to make something like a fishing boat. Not even strong enough to go on an ocean, only strong enough to go on maybe a lake. So the second tree was slightly disappointed. And the third tree, the woodman took his axe, took off all the branches, cut it into strong, nice beams, and left him in the yard. That was it. Just left him there. Now, sometime later, the first tree that was going to be the treasure chest, that was the feed box, was now somewhere dirty and a little bit smelly, but there was a young girl there, and she'd just given birth to a little baby boy. And her husband said, oh, if only I could have given you a proper crib for this baby. But instead, all I've got is this manger. And the baby landed in the manger. And the manger knew straight away that tree said, I am holding the best treasure in the whole wide world. And sometime later, when the star had disappeared over the stable, sometime later, the second tree that was going to be a what? A ship. Disappointed because he wasn't on the sea or the ocean, but he was on a lake. There was a tired man, and he and his friends got into the fishing boat and went out, and the little boat went out onto the lake and said, oh yes, this is nice, but I could have been a bigger ship. But then a storm arose, and the fishing boat was all over the place, and this man stood up and he said, stop. The winds and the waves, they stopped, and the storm died down, and the little fishing boat said, I am carrying the most powerful king in the whole universe. Not the world, the whole universe. And he was very happy. And the third tree, where was the third tree? He was just in the woodyard, wasn't he? And he was dragged out one day, and he was hauled through a city, and he was put on a hill, and somebody was nailed to him. And he thought, this is so bad, it's so sad. But do you know what? When somebody looks at the same shape as that third tree was made into, a cross, where does that cross point? Up to heaven. So the third tree got his wish too. So he's pointing to heaven, and everybody thinks of God and Jesus when they see what the third tree wanted to be. So sometimes in our dreams, we don't think what we would dream about will ever come true. And maybe it doesn't come true in the same way that we want it to. But Jesus has a plan for every one of you. So will you remember something for me this morning? When you go today, I'm going to give you a star, like the star that was over the stable. And when you put that on your Christmas tree, will you remember the birth of Jesus, who was laid in the manger? Can you do that for me? Thank you very much for listening.